So I just watched Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist again, and I want to take this opportunity to not only talk about that movie, but to talk about the entire Exorcist franchise, because it is one of my favorite movie franchises in general. Now, a lot of people who know me can't understand why I would like such movies, such even, because basically they are horror movies, and not only horror movies, but, especially when the first movie, The Exorcist, came out, a lot of Christians were opposing it and were lobbying for it to get banned. And there were some places where it actually got banned because a lot of Christians felt that this was an evil movie about demons and probably even by demons and advocating for evil demonic things or whatever. But no, that's not at all what the movie is about. And no, the movie is not advocating for evil things, whatever evil things those might be. Actually, quite the opposite. The author of the book and of the movie and I think also of the third movie, Legion, William Peter Blatty. Well, he was a clergy himself, and his intention wasn't at all to spread something evil or to make a scary horror movie or anything like that. That was not his intention. If that would have been his intention, I don't think the movie would have had as big an impact as it had. It's precisely because that wasn't his intention. And actually, his intention, believe it or not, it was actually to spread Christianity and to spread the belief in the divine. Even though I know it's hard to believe if you've seen the movie, but let me explain it, and I think then you will understand. One of the biggest arguments, so to say, that atheists use to reject God and to reject Christianity or to reject religions and beliefs in general, it's basically the only argument, or the main argument, and a lot of times it is the only argument they have, because a lot of times they will come with science, but science isn't able to either prove or disprove the existence of God. Unless they start with pseudoscience, you really can't prove or disprove the existence of God. So the only argument that they're left to deny the existence of anything divine it's a very popular argument, and I'm sure you've heard it or you thought about it yourself, and that's it basically boils down to, well, if there is a God, and if he is a good God, if he is benevolent and compassionate and merciful and all these things, all these good attributes, then how come there's so much injustice in the world? And how come there's so many good people in the world to whom bad things happen? Right? That can't be. If there is an all-powerful God, then surely he would be powerful enough to change that and to not have good people suffer. So their conclusion is, well, there can't be a God, because if there was a God, then either he doesn't care, or he is not a good God because he doesn't help the good people and he allows good people to suffer, or there simply is no God at all. That's the argument. And the entire Exorcist franchise, well, or at least everything that Blatty had any involvement with, is about that question, about answering that question. Why bad things happen to good people? And there is a deleted scene in The Exorcist that is in the director's cut. And on BitChute, I'm gonna show you this clip because it basically explains that very well.
Why this grew doesn't make sense.
I think the point is to make us despair. To reject the possibility that God could love us.
So basically, I understand it as Bloody's point being that if there is a devil or if there is evil, then that's precisely what the devil would want us to believe. He would want us to lose faith. He would want us to curse God and to question God, and that's precisely what the devil would want. So the devil makes it appear so to us that bad things happen to good people. And it's not about those people. I mean, good people are good people and they're gonna get good rewards. Maybe not in this life, but in the afterlife. You know, that's at least what most religions believe. So there is no real injustice towards good people. Good people will still get their rewards, and bad people, likewise, will also get their rewards, even though it doesn't always appear that way to us. And that's precisely where evil comes in. Evil will make it appear, evil will trick us into thinking that, into questioning God, into questioning whether there is justice and so on. So it's really a test for us. And in Blatty's eyes, The Exorcist wasn't so much about Reagan as it was about the priest, Father Karras. Because Father Karras is basically Blatty. That's how Blatty used to be, and you can see that Blatty that Father Karras is full of doubt. He is a clergy, but he's actually more a scientist than he is a clergy, and he kind of lost faith precisely because of such things. Because also because of guilt. Because of guilt, he feels for basically having forsaken his mother, and a lot of things. He feels guilty for a lot of things, and he questions a lot of things, and he sees a lot of things as being unjust. So he questions God and he loses faith. But in reality, it's precisely the demon that wants him to lose faith, and he reinforces that by targeting Reagan, who is innocent by all accounts, and by corrupting Reagan, he is able to ultimately corrupt Karras, which is his real goal. But of course that doesn't work, because in targeting Reagan and in possessing Reagan, the demon, basically reveals himself. It's pretty obvious that, he's a demon and he's obviously possessing this innocent child. So it has the opposite effect, and instead of eliminating Father Karras' faith, it actually has the effect of reigniting his faith, because he realizes, if there's the devil, if the devil is real, then I guess God must also be real. So that's kind of his thought process towards the end, and then of course he sacrifices himself for the girl. And I watched an interview with Platy, and I realized that was actually what he intended to do with the audience. He didn't want this to be this horrible horror movie, and he didn't want to promote demonic possessions or demons or whatever, like some Christians accused him of doing. He really wanted, he really wanted the audience to be kind of like Harris, to realize that, well, if there is a devil, if there is evil, then there must also be good, and then there must also be God, and if there's injustice, then there must also be justice. I think that was kind of his intention, and he hinted at that in various interviews. Of course, personally, I never really thought of the Exorcist that way. My personal interpretation has always been that it's actually about rape, but that's probably because I was abused as a child. So anyway, in my eyes, Regan has always been the victim of sexual abuse, probably at the hands of the character called Burke, or Burke. No, you call him Burke, right? Well, that kind of sinister guy who's the first one to be killed by Regan / possessed Regan. And if you watch this movie in this light, you will also realize that yes, there are a lot of hints to that. That there are a lot of hints that Burke might have been sexually abusing Regan. So it's also about sexual abuse. A lot of her reactions are not typical reactions of possessed people. Well, they could be interpreted that way, but that's kind of also the theme of the movie, you know, that you can either you can interpret it in a scientific way, and then you might come to the conclusion that Regan is showing a lot of characteristics of children that have been sexually abused. You know, also her being so vulgar when she's possessed. Those are all signs of, well, not so much of possession, but signs that she might have been sexually abused. So you can view it that way, or you can view it as a demonic possession. And that's also kind of, you know, what the characters in the movie and the novel are faced with, of that decision on whether or not they view it from a purely psychological standpoint and view it as Regan simply having psychological problems, or if they accept the supernatural elements. And there are hints to both. So yeah. So you see, it's actually a really deep movie, and there were a lot of different ways to view this movie, and most of them are deliberate, and that's what makes it such a great movie, and that's what makes it stand out among all the horror movies, and that's also what differentiates it from Christian movie. It's not really a Christian movie, though the author might have intended it to be, but it really stands out because, you know, normally Christian movies are really boring, and they're actually not as deep. So, but let's talk about The Exorcist. Exorcist. What's it called? No. It's called Dominion, Prequel to The Exorcist, because well, I said I like the entire franchise, but actually, well, I don't. There were a lot of movies in the franchise that are really bad. So the good titles in the franchise are the first one. The second one is utter crap. The third one, Exorcist Legion, that one is really good. And the fifth one is really good. Now, what's the fifth movie? Well, it's kind of complicated because, well, the fourth movie would be Well, see, that's kind of where it gets complicated. No, actually, the fourth movie would actually be, well, if you go by what has been filmed in sequence. No, well, it's kind of complicated. See, they made a fourth movie, and that's actually Dominion prequel to The Exorcist. They shot that movie, they finished it, and then like the executives thought, oh, well, wait a minute. I mean, this is obviously a great movie, but we want to make money with it, right? So, and because we want to make money with it, it has to feel like a typical Exorcist movie, and there have to be certain horror elements in it. And there have to be, like, I don't know, scenes where people turn their heads 360 degrees, because otherwise people will not come and watch the movie or something. I don't really know what they thought, but something along those lines. Anyway, the executives were not happy with the movie, even though it's a great movie, and Blatty himself actually praised. But anyway, the executives somehow thought that, well, they're not gonna make enough money with it, so they reshot the entire thing and made a completely different movie that's actually utter crap, and that's called Exorcist: The Beginning, and they released that movie. And yeah, and then the audience and the critics realized that the movie is utter crap, and nobody really watched the movie, and they lost a ton of money. And then the executives realized, oh, wait a minute, maybe we've made a mistake. Maybe we should have released the good movie after all, and not just made a movie for making money. Because it kind of backfired, and the movie that they were hoping was making them a ton of money didn't make them a ton of money because it was a bad movie. So they released the original movie, the one they discarded, the one they didn't publish, and released it as a Dominion prequel to The Exorcist. And as it turns out, it's actually a really good movie. But yeah, well, the only thing is that it wasn't originally, it wasn't supposed to be released at all, and because the other movie did so badly, they released it after all, but they only gave it a teeny little budget, for marketing and for post-production. I mean, they already produced the movie, but there was still the post-production. So they only had a shoestring budget for post-production. Which resulted in the movie having some really bad CGI. But other than that, it's a great movie, and you should really watch it. And for those people on BitChute, I'm gonna show you a key scene of it. It's the first scene. I'm gonna show you the first scene.
What are you doing, Father? You praying to God? It's all right, Father. I'll let you pray. Because I know something. You see? God isn't here today.
So for my YouTube audience, the first scene is about Father Marion being in the Netherlands during the Nazi occupation, and one of the Wehrmacht soldiers gets shot by he doesn't get shot. He gets killed with a knife. Right, he gets killed with a knife by one of the Dutch civilians. So the Wehrmacht and the SS round up the people in the town, and they call on Father Marion to reveal who the murderer is, because they assume that, since he's the priest, the murderer would have probably confessed to him. But Father Marion assures them that there is no murderer among the people in the town. And then the guy from the SS explains that, well, he basically needs a scapegoat, so surely there must be someone among the people in the town that, beats his wife or something, someone they can use as a scapegoat. But Father Marion refuses to cooperate, so they threaten to shoot everybody. So in the end, Father Marion is kind of forced into cooperating with them, and he picks and chooses who should be shot. But he's really forced into that. Of course, this has a profound impact on him, and is of course very traumatizing to him, and it kind of causes him to lose faith. And that's kind of what the movie is about. The entire rest of the movie is basically the events that happened to Father Marion in World War II repeating themselves. And the entire rest of the movie, Father Marion is basically completely cynical and basically has completely lost his faith because of those events from the beginning that, basically made him question his faith and made him question the existence of God, because he can't understand why God would allow those terrible things to happen. But above all, it's his own guilt. He feels guilty for cooperating with the Nazis, and so he just can't bear it, and it makes him lose his faith. So then basically the events start repeating, and Father Marion remains cynical and remains without faith. Basically the entire time, until the end, when he's kind of forced, he's kind of forced to perform an exorcism, and he's kind of forced to start opposing the demon. And the demon tries to trick him and, conjures up like an illusion for him and offers to take his guilt away. But he's basically like trying to imply that, well, God gave you this guilt, and God let those terrible things happen, and I, in turn, the demon, I will free you from your guilt. And but Marion doesn't fall for it, and like in the first movie, like in The Exorcist, it has the opposite effect, and him realizing that there is Satan, because in this case it's basically more or less Satan himself that does the possessing. So Father Marion realizes that if there is Satan, there must also be God. Or at least I think that's what he's realizing. Anyway, he doesn't fall for the tricks, and he doesn't fall for the illusion that the devil is conjuring for him. So it's kind of difficult to describe. You should really watch the movie. Go watch the first Exorcist, the third one, and Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. And stay away from all the other movies.